Hey guys, it's Kasha. Welcome back to my channel. I apologize that I wear this flannel in every video because, well, it's January in Massachusetts and I'm cold. Sorry, I'm not sorry. I'm gonna continue to wear my favorite flannel. Today's beer. Look how beautiful that looks. Look at that artwork. What is this called? Prophets and Nomads. Ghosts with Himalayan salt and coriander. Whoa. It's about as interesting sounding as the can is. I picked it simply because the artwork is so cool. A little steamy goodness. Smells sour. Oh, cheers. Excuse my manners. I forgot to say cheers. It's a ghost. It's sour, but like drinkable. At first it kind of smells like socks, but then the flavor kind of like deepens and becomes better, and I like it. Anyway, that's not why we're here today. Today's video is gonna be my introduction to my 2019 Project Pan. I'm gonna do a Project Pan. I'm really excited actually. I've got some really cool stuff that I'm gonna try to use up and pan this year. It's January. I've been low-key for a while trying to pan some of this stuff, but I haven't panned any of these things yet. I'm excited to do this Project Pan just cause I want to get my money's worth out of some of these older products that are still wonderful, but I just don't use enough because they don't have that new exciting feeling. But they're still really good and they should be given another chance. So I'm excited to do this Project Pan. I'm calling it 20 by 2020. So a lot of people are doing 19 products. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. I'm going to do 20. And I think I can do it. I think I can pan most of these things. Some of these things are going to be a little bit harder, but yeah, I'm going to be trying to pan these 20 things. And there's a variety of reasons why I'm entering these items into the Project Pan. Most notably, a lot of these items are creeping up onto 2 years of use. I've had them for about 2 years. It'll be over 2 years for some of these products once we get going on the year. So I'd like to try to pan them, try to use them. A couple of these things I'd like to replace, but I feel bad that they haven't gotten used that much. So like I need to use them so I can justify replacing them. There's a couple things that I bought expecting to learn a new technique, and I bought them to use to do that technique, and I just don't, I'm too comfortable with some of my old like techniques that I always go to. So a couple of these things I'd like to just learn, just dive in there and force myself to use them often, because the best way to learn a new skill is to just kind of practice, right? So I'm putting these items in my Project Pan so I can use them a lot and learn these new skills. And yeah, some of these things I just want to get the experience of panning that thing. Like I've never used up a lip product before, so I'm putting a lip product into my Project Pan just to see if I can do it, if I can really use up an entire lipstick. So without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about the items that are in my Project Pan. I guess I will start with these bronzers that I have 2 bronzers that I'm entering in, and I've been low-key trying to pan them on my own for a while, but I still haven't panned them. First off is my Benefit Hoola bronzer. Looks like this. And I've used up a good amount of it. I don't know if you can tell at all. So I don't know if you can see just how much I've used up. There's a little bit of a rivet inside. There's a little bit of depth. But I'd like to see how much longer it would take to finally hit pan on this guy. So this is, I actually just used this product today, and we'll see how far we need to go to hit pan. All right. I also have another, I've zoomed in so I can do like more close-ups and stuff, but I also have another bronzer to pan as part of my Project Pan. This is the Toofaced Chocolate Soleil bronzer. As you can see, this is in the older packaging, and I'd like to replace this bronzer, but first I need to like use it a little bit more, and it's coming up on 2 years of me having it, so I'd like to use this up. This is what she looks like on the inside. As you can see, there's kind of like little rivets in it. It seems like I'm pretty close to getting pan on this. But yeah, that's where we are at in January. and I hope to hit some pan on this real soon. I think I've actually had this for longer than 2 years, but for about a year it was closed up. This is the Becca and Jaclyn Hill Champagne Pop highlighter. What had happened was I brought this to study at Cinema Makeup School with me, and it was actually a brand new highlighter when I got it. But one day during class I dropped it and I smashed it and it shattered. And recently this year I finally repressed it, and I'd like to just kind of use it because it's still pretty full. As you can see, it doesn't have the texture it's supposed to. I didn't, I didn't get too fancy with the repressing. I just kind of tried to get it back in there. But yeah, that's where we're at in January, and I'd like to pan this. It's a really pretty highlighter, even though the hype has kind of died down recently. Still think it's really pretty. I like to use it in a lot of looks still. And I'd like to see if after I repressed it, if it was worth my time repressing it, if I can really hit that pan and, use this highlighter. So that's Becca Champagne Pop right there. Here's a drugstore item I'd like to use up. This is my Milani Luminoso blush. This is a cult favorite. I think I've had this for just about 2 years now. At one point in life, this was like such a hyped up blush. So people still talk about it once in a while, but it is pretty. It's a little light on me, actually. I don't know, I want to get a little bit more use out of it. I want to see what kind of versatility it has. I just want to see how much product is in here because it's a little bit domed. So I'd like to hit pan on something for once in my life. This is one of the things that I don't think I might even hit pan on. Like so far, the bronzers, I definitely feel like I'll hit pan on. I don't know if I will with this product. But I have a few blushes here that I'm going to be working on. So we'll see. We'll see. Beer break. Speaking of blushes, I've got two Morphe blush palettes that I never have used enough, and I think I've had these palettes for about 2 years now, maybe like a year and a half, and I've never really used them, and it's a shame because they're pretty, and I bet I can get lots of really great use out of it. I've used this one a little bit more. This is the Morphe 9B palette. Let me get a little close-up here of it. As you can see, it's not very messy. It hasn't really been used a ton. And I just like to experiment with different blushes. I hope that using these palettes will encourage me to kind of experiment with complexion and different looks that I can get from the complexion. This is now the Morphe 9N. Count both of these as one. I'd like to just hit pan on one of these shades maybe, or just at least just use them a lot more, This will give me a lot of options in the blush realm. And there's a couple of highlighting shades in here, like this one. Me swatching it just now, it might be the first time this product has been touched. It's very subtle, but I think that'd be really pretty. And this blush looks gorgeous. These would be really nice for paler girls. I have used this in my kit a little bit. Maybe I will incorporate it into my kit. Maybe that's the way it's gonna get used and panned. So that's my Morphe 9B palette in January, and my Morphe 9N palette in January. And we'll see if any one of these will get significant use throughout the year. Hopefully I learned a lot about complexion from getting a little bit more use out of these palettes, because I've worn this one a couple times, the 9B. And I actually bought it because I wanted to experiment with red blush. Have I used this before in clients? I think so, because red is supposed to be a tone that you use on women of color, really deep skin tones. But, I wanted to do a cool, punky, monochromatic red look. Maybe I'll do a little bit of that. That's how a lot of these big pan products get used. You do these avant-garde looks that kind of use up a lot of product, and that's how you kind of dig deep into a lot of products. Okay, so I got this product back in, I think it was Christmas season 2016. And I've always thought that this was like a smart product. This is a Smashbox like Academy palette or something like that. I forget what they call it. But as you can see, it has gotten a little bit of love, especially with these color correctors, because these color correctors are the only color correctors I have in my collection. But you know something I've never done, guys? I've never done a cream contouring, right? I bought this palette thinking I was going to learn how to cream contour. These are all cream contour shades. They've barely been used. I think I cream contoured like once or twice in my whole life. These are like some cream highlighter shades. I've never messed... and that's not true. I have my Colourpop cream highlighters that are really nice, but I've never really used these. I think I've just only swatched them. These eyeshadows that are in here are really smart, and you can get some really kind of thorough... It's like these shades are great for coming up with a lot of like sought after looks. Like this is a palette like made for artists, and I just don't ever bring it with me to a lot of gigs because it's so bulky, even though it is pretty useful. Like you can do a lot of really cool things in here, and these blushes are really gorgeous too. So I just want to use this a lot more. There's a little bit of pan here actually. I have used this color corrector quite a bit at gigs, and this green a little bit too, just scooping it out. Scooping as a makeup artist is how you use up a lot of products, because you often need to scoop out a little bit more than you think you're gonna need, just so you don't have to scoop again and contaminate your stuff. I mean, at least that's what I do. But there was a moment in time where I really was enjoying these shadows. I'd like to enjoy them some more. I know that they're really reliable. I know that they're very versatile and can be used for a lot of different things. So here's this Smashbox palette as of January 2019. And yeah, none of them are really close to hitting pan in any way. But these, I can't wait to use these blushes a little bit more, especially this brown one. I don't use brown blushes quite enough, and I think they'd be really pretty for a lot of people, especially people who don't naturally blush. It might be more flattering to use like a brown blush on them, because pink blushes may look pretty unnatural, but like brown blushes look a little bit closer like a tan. So that could be really pretty for a lot of people. This black is really nice, and yeah, I'm really excited to see myself use this a little bit more. You know, this Nocturnal shade seems like it would be really pretty all over the lid. I don't think I've ever used that shade. If you look really closely, you might be able to see that the way that the shadow was pressed is still pretty intact. It looks like it hasn't been touched. It seems like all these other shadows were at least touched. But that, except for that one, and that's crazy because that one looks really pretty. I've already got an idea. I want to use this all over the lid for like a grungy, effortless kind of, you know, cool girl look. Like just that color all over the lid with a liner. That would be really cool. So we're staying with face kind of powders and that kind of realm still. Another thing I'd like to pan this year, especially because it's coming up on 2 years of me owning this. This is my Hourglass Ambient Lighting palette. I feel like I'm definitely going to hit pan on this product, because the only product powder product I've ever hit pan on is from this palette, which is one of my most treasured possessions. I love this palette. Definitely my most treasured piece of gratis I ever got from Sephora. This is my Ambient Lighting Edit palette. Right there is the only powder product I've ever hit pan on. And that's because I use this heavily as a in my kit when I'm freelancing, and I tend to use it on myself a lot too. This shade right here is Dim Light. It's like it's a finishing powder, and I just kind of love to rub it all over the high points of the face, underneath the eyes, just to kind of blur everything out, make the whole look so romantic and glowy. And this palette has the same shade. So since I've already panned it on the other palette, I know I can pan it here. And I just want to do more kind of soft highlighting shades too. I'd also like to pan some of these blushes and this bronzer. I've been trying to use the bronzer way more. I use all of these shades a lot, though I think the color I use the least, it's probably this white, but I'd like to maybe pan some more of these shades. It's gonna take a little bit longer. The reason that I've panned this so quickly is because I rub it all over the face, and most clients, just because everybody could use a little bit of smoothing and face tuning in real life, you know. So this is the status of the palette in January of 2019. And we'll see how far we get when we check in throughout the year. And just for fun, this is kind of like a bonus item, but let's check in over the course of the year, see how far I get on some of these other colors, the blushes, the bronzer, and see if I can completely use up this guy. I've primarily talked about things that are going to be a little bit more challenging to use up because we only use a little bit of powder each time you use a powder product. But I think I've got something here that's going to be really easy to use up, especially because it's mostly gone there anyway. It's nice to not have everything be a challenge, you know? This is my Benefit Porefessional primer. As you can see, it's been loved. I've used it in my kit because you can squeeze it out into a palette. That's pretty easy to do. It's pretty dirty. It's been covered in eyeliner shavings and everything. But I think I can use this up pretty quickly. Maybe even by I don't know, maybe by March or April. Certainly by May I can use this all up. And yeah, it's coming up on 2 years of me owning it, so I'd like to use it up. It'll be the second smoothing primer I ever use up. Alright, so that's all the air squeezed out. January 2019. Let's check out the progress. This is definitely enough for like 10 more faces. And I have yet another smoothing primer I'd like to use up this year. I've had it for about 2 years at this point. Yeah, because I think I started using it when I was in cinema makeup school, and that was at the end of February. That's when I opened it. So time to get this used up. I think I've used it quite a bit, but I primarily use this not as a full-on primer, though I'm kind of interested to see how it compares to some of my favorite smoothing primers. So maybe I will, in order to pan it, to use it up. And I also have a mini backup of this stuff too, and so many other smoothing primers. But I'd like to use this up, and I think it's possible because it's a great kind of product to use if you've got like fallout on top. You kind of put this on the back of a sponge and you use it as like a little eraser. Which something I like to do when I'm freelancing is I will do somebody's skincare and primer first, then their eyes, and then I do their foundation. It's an easy way to clean up fallout without removing your primer. It's a little, you know, if you go a little bit too heavy-handed on top of foundation, it can kind of remove the foundation, but it's a fun little trick, and I like to use it for that, and I'd like to use it up this year. So I'm gonna be coming up on 2 years at the end of February, beginning of March. So this is where we're at in January 2019. It's still pretty full. I remember one of my teachers was talking about how she buys these in bulk because she uses them so much for that purpose, that trick I was talking about. So maybe I'll do a little bit more of that trick and we'll try to use this all up and we'll see how that works out. So that's where we're at in January 2019. Sticking with the face, I've got a setting powder I'd like to use up. I think I've had this for just about 2 years. I got this like back in February. This is my RCMA No Color Translucent Powder. I have so much of this. I've only used up like a little bit. And it's funny, it's because every time I use it, I dump out a ton of it. But this is where we're at in January 2019. And hopefully by the end of the year I can use this up if I diligently try to use it all the time. This is a really nice setting powder. It needs to get a little bit more love. I might put it in different packaging. That might help me use it a little bit more often. But that is one of the things in the project pan. I have a foundation. So this is a foundation that I actually love. This is my Makeup Forever HD foundation stick. And ever since I got my Hourglass Vanish foundation stick, I stopped using these. These are really nice, and I have a ton left. I have 2 colors here because I mixed them to get my shade. There's like a good amount in each one of these, and I'd like to just get them used up this year. So that is the one in the shade Y12. It's about that high. One of these I've had a little bit longer than the other. I think the lighter one I had longer. Yeah, you can totally tell. Because that's how much there's left of that one. I do believe that this is considered like a little bit less than full size. I think I've had this one a little bit more than 2 years at this point. But this is where we're at in January 2019, and I hope to pan these. I hope to use these all up in 2019. There was a moment in time where I was using this all the time because it was pretty easy to just kind of slap it on. I've been using my It Cosmetics CC cream a lot on my like easy makeup days, but I hope to use these up. And I have to use this light one especially because right now is winter, and right now it's going to be the closest that it is to matching me, so that's where we're at with my Makeup Forever cream foundations. And I talked a little bit when I was talking about the Smashbox palette about how I want to do more cream contour. This will help me do some more cream contour too, so that's where we're at with these for 2019, and we're going to try to use them up this year. Here's another product I've had for just about 2 years now. This is my Toofaced Glitter Glue. I've been using primarily lately my NYX Glitter Glue over this one, but I've had this one for about 2 years and I've barely used it. It's pretty full. That's a huge problem. I need to use this way more. So this is pretty full so far in 2019, and I hope to use it up in 2019. So January 2019, that's where we're at. It's pretty full. I feel like I've only used this like maybe less than 10 times. So let's try to get this used up this year, huh guys? I'll do lots more glitter looks. Why do I keep wanting to call this It Cosmetics? The Toofaced Glitter Glue. Let's try to get this used. Next up I have my Inglot gel liner. Now I want to use this up because I've had this, got this at the end of 2016, and I've only used it a handful of times, and this is a really nice gel liner. There is actually a pretty good divot in here. Let's take a closer look here. Can you see? Yeah, so that's my It Cosmetics. Why do I keep wanting to call them all It Cosmetics? So this is my Inglot gel liner. This is one of the blackest, nicest gel liners on the market. But the thing with me is I don't use gel liner in general enough, which is a problem because I should be using it way more. It's like so smooth, it's so black, it's so easy to keep sanitary. As you can see, I have a little bit of divot in there because I use it primarily in my kit. But if I use this a lot on myself, because I never use gel liners on myself, I should be able to get through this because the reason that there's such a divot is because I scoop with my palette knife to get this stuff out so I can put it on clients. But yeah, that's where we're at in January 2019, and I hope to use this up completely by the end of the year, so I can get a new one, because this is probably the best gel liner on the market. I love this stuff, and I need to give it more love. It needs to be loved. Needs to get used up. So I have a couple eyeshadow palettes I like to use up. First one is your girl Modern Renaissance, and the reason I want to hit pan on some of this is because this is one of the more used palettes that I have in my collection. Here she is on the inside, and I'd like to replace this palette. Actually, I've had it for almost 2 years. I know that the date here says 6 months, but it's a powder product. I've always believed that sometimes the powder products have like your best guess on there, and also the Soft Glam palette says 24 months, and it's like the same formula, so I feel like this should have been labeled 24 months. Or no, I think that one was labeled 18 months. Anyway, if you look really closely, this one's pretty close to a hitting pan. I've used that one quite a bit. I've used Tempera a ton. It's not close to hitting pan, but it could. I do use this Antique Bronze a lot because it's such a great shade for smoking out the lower lash line, so I love using that. I use these shimmers a ton, these crease shades a ton. I'm noticing right now that I haven't really even touched Realgar, so I'd like to play with this guy a little bit more. Maybe I'll do some like callback palette like let's use this palette up kind of callback videos. That'd be kind of nice. And this was such a cult classic, and I think, yeah, I really want to replace it because I feel like it's still working pretty nicely. Here's Cypress Umber. It's tough to use this palette because I tend to reach for soft glam a little bit more lately, especially because it's got some of it's got this color, Cypress Umber, and it also has Tempera, so if I need one of those colors, I'm more likely to reach for soft glam. Yeah, it's used, but it could be used more for sure. I'd like to hit pan on one of these shades before the end of the year, so I can replace her. It'll be the first palette I ever replace. I also have 2 of my Lorac Pro palettes that I'd like to replace this year. I love these palettes, and I actually want to replace them because they're getting pretty old. I bought the Pro 2 first. This one's a little bit older. This one's probably more than 2 years old at this point, actually. But I think I've had the other one for about 1.5 years, and this one's pretty well loved. I think I'm pretty close to hitting pan on this one. That one's got a nice divot in there. I also use the buff color a ton, but there's also so many similar colors like that in my collection. And this palette has actually saved me quite a bit while I'm freelancing. This doesn't seem like a palette that like is too exciting, but it has so many like essential colors in freelancing. And there was one time during a gig that the client originally said she wanted like glittery soft pink, but at the last minute she changed her mind to blue. Just like, oh shit, I don't think I packed any blues. Well, this guy right here saved me that day, and it's a beautiful blue. It's such a beautiful navy. I bought the Natasha Denona gold palette thinking I didn't have a good navy in my collection, but there she is. But yeah, I'd like to see myself hit pan on one of these colors. This color comes super in handy while I'm freelancing too. I use this palette a lot freelancing, and I'd like to see myself hit pan on some of these colors. This chrome color is really gorgeous too. It's such a like unique shimmer shade, a cool tone shimmer shade. Oh, this is also a great palette for cool tone looks, which I believe are coming back in a big way. You know, we've kind of all had enough of our warm tone palettes, and I'd like to see us do more cool tone looks, you know? So that is where we're at with the Lorac 2 as of January 2019. Let's see if we hit pan on any of these colors. And I think I'm actually a little bit closer on hitting pan on this palette. This is the Lorac 1. This is a really well-loved palette, and I'd like to replace it. I think it's very useful. Some of these colors are awesome for bridal, so I use this when I'm freelancing all the time. I use it freelancing more than I use it on myself, because these are the colors that you typically need to end up using while you're doing like bridal looks. So I've gotten pretty low on cream there. I feel like that's really doable to pan. I reach for this light bronze for like neutral, shimmery, soft, romantic bridal looks a lot. That comes super in handy. These 3 colors are super like well loved for deepening up looks, smoking out looks. This slate color I haven't really even used. The champagne color is really fun. This nude color is great for like highlighting the inner corner. There's like a really nice stark white, which never gets like used in my collection. The lowest down color, there's a few that are equally low down. The taupe is pretty low down. That could be panned relatively quickly, I think. And light bronze. I think the taupe is going to be pretty easy to pan. But I do have a handful of neutral palettes here in this project pan. So this is where we're at for 2019, January 2019. And let's see if we can hit some pan on these guys. This garnet color is really pretty. I want to use that. That's really awesome. So I got one more eyeshadow palette for you guys. This is a pretty well-loved eyeshadow palette. As you can see, it's pretty dirty. This is my Viseart Neutrals palette. This is my go-to neutrals palette. If I ever need to just get a really high-quality neutral in my life, I reach for this. These pans are really big, guys, so I think this is gonna be much more of a challenged pan. I want to throw this in here just to see if it can happen. This color has been used a ton. I don't know if you can see it all, but it's got a pretty good divot in here, and so does these. These are my two most used colors because I use these colors to kind of blend out other colors. But to lighten things, I use that one a lot. I use the black a lot. To deepen colors, I use this one quite a bit. This orange is pretty untouched, which is crazy because this orange is really pretty. I should really use it more. And this is one of the only grays in my collection, so I'd like to use this palette a whole lot more this year. So yeah, this is where we're at for January 2019, and I hope to... I really don't know. I don't think I'm gonna hit pan on this, but we'll see. We'll try to use it a lot. Anytime I need a neutral palette, I'll reach out to her, and we'll see how possible or impossible it is to pan this. This is also an interesting palette to have just to like kind of contour with. I bet I could contour with this color. Or even this. This is nice and cool toned. This is almost gray though, so I don't know about that, but I don't do enough of like using certain products in different ways. Like I don't use highlighters as eyeshadows enough, and eyeshadows as highlighters, or eyeshadows as contour, eyeshadow as a highlight. Do a little bit more of that throughout 2019. So let's see how we do at the end of the year. Okay, so I got one last item here. I've never used up a lip product before my lip products have ever gotten very low because I scoop lip products out, and when I freelance, I usually, when it's getting pretty low, I give it away. That way I don't have to do as much scooping, you know? I don't have to worry about double dipping. Anyway, I'd like to use up a lip product for the first time in my life. These Lippie sticks I think I've had for about 2 years, and this Grunge one is probably my favorite like lipstick ever. This was, I think I talked about it in my favorites video, and I want to use all of these a lot more. I'd like to see myself maybe even pan another one of these. So these are low-key, this is all going to count as one item, but I want to see myself like use up more of these lip products. And this is probably the one I've used the most, and there's so much left in. That's a lot of lip products still left in there at 2019, and I'm going to try to use this all up. I always get compliments when I wear this color. This is Grunge by Colourpop, and I'd like to see myself maybe even use this up this year. But that's going to be tough because that means I'm going to have to wear this several times every month to get this used up. So I don't know how crazy I'm going to get with the rest of these, but let's, I do use, let's see about Lumiere. Maybe I can use up Lumiere a little bit. So kind of in the same realm as Grunge. There's plenty of product left. So let's see if we can try to maybe use up Lumiere throughout the year. I imagine I'm going to do another Project Pan update, and I'm like, one of these lip products I'm never going to use. Like, it's just not, doesn't ever get picked up. But yeah, let's try to use up these two. I don't want to overdo it and add too many things to my Project Pan, but let's see if I can get these used maybe even halfway through by the end of the year. Hey guys, I made a huge mistake. I'm freshly showered with no makeup on. But I forgot to show you this product, which is probably one of the more weird products I didn't realize until I was editing this video. But here's the last product that I'm going to show you today. This is my Anastasia Dipbrow Pomade in medium brown. I've had this for almost 2 years. As you can see, it's a little bit dry around the edges here. It's cracking. It's condensing. But I'd like to hit pan on this year because this is a great product and I never use it, and I haven't figured out how to do cream product brows that well, and I'd like to learn really good. As I was talking a little bit about this earlier in the video, the way you get good at doing something is by doing it over and over and over. So I'm hoping to do enough brows with this little guy this year to use this up. This has tons of product in it. Brows is something that gets used up quickly, so hopefully I get a get a lot of use out of this guy. So you can see I only have a tiny little bit of it used. A lot of it is nice and clean and untouched. This is where we're at in January. Hopefully we will hit pan by next January. Okay, bye. That is it, guys. Those are the products I'm going to be using in my project pan for 2019. I'm really excited, honestly. I'm excited to get some of these products used up to see how well I do. Can I even use these products up? I'm excited to become a little bit more conscious of like the products that I have in my collection and how to make them more versatile and how to kind of push my creativity a little bit and just kind of become more of a conscious consumer and see all the different ways I can use a product and see how much it goes into using up a product. There's definitely some things in here I don't think I'll use up, but I think it'll be cool to see how much I can get used throughout the year. I'm confident certain things I will be able to pan and no problem. Other things are going to be a little bit more challenging, especially the Viseart palette. I think that's going to be a big challenge. And the Smashbox palette, that's barely been touched. That's going to be it's going to take so much to hit pan on that. I'm interested to see what happens to the Luminoso blush, to see that might actually start acting funny. I might have to throw it away because I have had that for 2 years. I'm still going to try. I'm still, you know, the thing about some of my products is that their integrity stays good because they kind of get forgotten about in my collection. I close them up real tight and they don't get touched and they don't have any oxygen going through them for a long time. So maybe that helps with their longevity. I don't know. But I'm really excited to learn to love some of these products again and try to use them up and learn what it's like to hit pan on some stuff, you know, because I've talked about how I've never used up a lipstick before. I've never used up a powder before. I've only hit pan on a powder once before, so I'm really excited to see how this project's gonna go, what the turnout is, what I'm gonna learn. As you can see, I kind of used a lot of stuff like that. I don't think that would be too easy to pan. Like I don't want to add eyeliners or mascaras because those are easy to use up. Like you wear your mascara every day for a month. If you use one mascara every day, you'll use it up in 2 months. Like that's how it goes. I didn't want to use a brow the brow product, I do have one brow product in here that I've added simply because I need to learn how to use a pomade in my brows. Like, I want to get really good at doing brows this year. Like, brows is kind of an area I struggle. I'm blessed with naturally a decent shape to my brows, but I'd like to learn a little bit better how to manipulate brows, and I think getting more familiar with the pomade is really going to help me. So I'm excited to learn new techniques, really force myself to kind of use some products that I'm uncomfortable with using, like the cream contour and the pomade and the gel eyeliner. And I hope to be a little bit more of a master by the end of this project. So let me know down below in the comments if you are doing a project pan. I love watching project pan videos. I think they're so much fun to watch. If you're following my project pan project, I'd love to follow along with yours. So let me know down below in the comments and I'm going to follow you, I'm going to subscribe to you, and I hope you subscribe to me, and I hope you follow me and encourage me to stick with this, because I anticipate being really excited in the new year to do like a bunch of new things, have some New Year's resolutions, but who knows how that's going to change throughout the course of the year. So thanks for joining me on this epic adventure, guys, and I hope to hang out with you again soon. Cheers.